What is up, guys? So this is part 2 of my Darklord double bill. For those of you who didn't catch the first profile I did yesterday, it's going to be up in the top left, top right, it'll be somewhere. Go and watch that. That's what going first Darklord build. But both of these builds are amazing in the current format, and they're both just really good because of Super Poly. Super Poly being in the format for Darklords really strengthens them and really makes them able to just do these crazy plays, and then Bardiche as well gives them a strong first turn and second turn play. So here I opened quite nuts. So as you can see, I've just extended crazily. I've managed to bring out 3 Darklords plus a Lucifer plus a Masquerena, and I've got Rebellion set. Now opponent is going to screw me over a little bit here, but I'm just going to link that off quickly into 4 material Appaloosa and then bring back Lucifer. So look, my opponent can't even target this Appaloosa. They're just going to get everything negated. I also do a little trick to bring back Lucifer back after they destroy it with Lightning Storm by using Superbia to bring himself back, which is quite crazy, and they're just going to surrender that first game. They didn't even get a chance to get a card out, but then we're going to go into game 2 against them, and you're going to see it's going to get even worse for them. So we're going to start off with the banishment search, and it's really here. Look, my goal is really just to dig through my deck and get to something on the board. As long as I don't die turn 1, I'm always quite confident in what's going to happen in turn 2. So I'm going to bring out Yugioh. Yugioh is going to bring out another card, and then I've got a Super Poly set for whatever they do next turn. Now what's really good as well is I can bring out the first Darklord if I really want to. So I don't know if I do that in this, but we'll see what happens. But let's go into it. So he's going to go into his Alistair the Invoker, and the funny thing is, in this matchup they have a really kind of bad disadvantage, because they've got those fusion monsters that can continually be made into Dragostapelia with Super Poly, which is a huge issue for them. So he's going to bring out another Macabre, but I'm not going to care about that because I'm just going to negate that with Dragostapelia. If he didn't, I would have negated it with the Sanctified in my grave anyway, so it wouldn't have mattered. I'm going to bring out Unicorn, spin the Macabre back. He's going to talents, but by here it doesn't matter if you use talents. And this is just to quickly pause. This is the problem with talents. Even though Konami do want us to use talents instead of Called by the Grave, triple tactical talents doesn't do the same job. I mean, the problem with this card is really just that if you've used your normal summon already, or you've used your card already, most cards are once per turn, so you're not going to get to extend again after that, so it doesn't really do the job in terms of Call by the Grave. Whereas Call by the Grave, it's like you'll negate something so your play still goes through. This is only good if your deck is good enough to extend through anything pretty much, so only very specific decks are going to really benefit off that card. Basically, if your deck's already strong, then it's going to love that card. But in any case, we're going to move on from that. He's going to imperm me here. It's not going to matter too much. I mean, I'm in a really good position. He has got an Alistair in his hand, but I've got Dragostapelia on the field and I've got an enchantment in my hand, but I'm going to choose not to set it just because I'm so confident that he can't OTK me. Even if he Purgatorios, it's just going to get negated, so I'm not too worried. So I'm going to keep him in my hand, and as you see, he just scoops because he doesn't really open anything great, and he's gone through 2 Macabres already. By the way, he's gone through 2 Macabres and he's banished half of his deck. But as you can see, this is my Darklord turbo build, so let's get straight into that profile for you. What's up, guys? So here is the Darklord turbo profile. So this build really interesting. So as you can see, standard kind of Darklord ratios. Again, as I explained yesterday, I'm running 3 Yugioh, 3 Pleasure, but everything else I'm just running at 1 because they're bad Darklords and they're bricks. You don't really want to see them in your hand. But big changes is we're adding a lot of dangers into the build. It's really about forcing your opponent to make decisions as well. One thing you'll find especially is like your opponent isn't going to want to just negate things, something like an Allure or a Trader, because it's never really good for them to negate that. What if you have a better card in your hand? Which means by forcing them into a position where they have to negate those, or they have to let them go through, you're always modulating your hand and making sure that your hand ends up really good, because now you're cycling through your deck until you get to the cards you actually want. So we're obviously going to be running 1 big foot to pop random threats on the field, like Buster Open Star for Thunderbolt, to pop random set threats on the field, 1 of each of the good dangers, because they're good dangers, they're always going to plus you. And then you've got the Mothman. Mothman is really good in this deck, and it also allows for some rank 4 plays. I don't think I've done one yet, but it technically speaking has some potential for some rank 4 plays. Moving into Condemn Witch, play 3 Condemn Witch. This card is amazing for Darklords. You guys need to play this in your Darklord builds. If you're going second or you're playing a Ties of the Brethren Darklord build, this is probably one of the best cards you can do, just because it searches for Forbidden Droplet, which is a really busted card, which means your opponent will almost certainly have to negate it if they know you're bringing out Forbidden Droplet anyway, they have to negate it as soon as they see a norm summon. And even if they negate, if they Ash or whatever, well, next turn it's just going to tag out, bring out Pleasure or Delight, and then you're just extending from there. So this card is so good for Darklords. It really does a huge job. I really hope that some sort of support comes out that means Darklords actually directly synergize with Condemned, because right now they're amazing with them. But moving on to Spells and Trap, we're playing 3 Allure and 2 Trade-In. Again, I want to cycle through every card on my deck. If you hit Trade-In plus a Danger, that's such an insane combo. Your opponent's not going to win that game, because they're going to have to choose to negate something, and if they don't, well, you're going to get a pop, and then you're going to get to draw 2 more cards, which is quite nuts. Then we're going to be playing the 1 Monster Reborn. Again, great card. We've got the 2 Forbidden Droplet just for dealing with pretty much anything, and 3 Super Poly. Super Poly is great. You're either going to be using it to make your first Darklord, or you're going to be using it to kind of consolidate their board into a Starving Venom or whatever. But really good card for this build. Now in this build, I'm going second and need all the interruption I can. And I also have a lot of discard fodder, so I am okay with playing 1 of each of the traps. As I explained yesterday, I don't really usually like running all of the traps because they're just a bit bricky and they don't do the job for you. But in this variant, I've got so much discard and draw power, I'm okay with running 1 of each because they will all come in useful at some point. But moving on into the extra deck, so we play 1 Verte. Now this is entirely just for going first. When you're going first, side in the Dragoon package, make Dragoon. Simple as, it's hard to lose a game if you make Dragoon nowadays. It's just such a busted card. We've got the 1 Cross Sheep. Cross Sheep is a little bit of a combo. Once you basically, if you've already got Lucifer out, you make Cross Sheep, bring Lucifer up under him. Cross Sheep is going to trigger, bring something out, link into a link free or whatever, or you can use Lucifer again, special summon a Superbia. That's going to special summon something else on the Cross Sheep, which will give you another summon. I mean, it's just a really good card because you've got fusions. We've got the 1 Masquerena and 1 Appaloosa. Both of those cards are amazing for Darklords. You need to be playing those in your Darklord variants. There's no Darklord variant where I wouldn't play both Masquerena and Appaloosa. Maybe if it's like an extra demise variant where you're not using your extra deck, but other than that, there's no way I wouldn't play those 2 cards. They're so good for Darklords. You've got the 2 Condemned Darklord. Condemned Darklord, really good monster. This is less of the objective of this deck. This one is more focused on Lucifer than focused on Condemned, but that is still a really good link monster for you, so you definitely want to be playing her at 2. The 1 Unicorn for outing threats, and Boral Sword again for killing people as quickly as possible. Boral Sword is such a good monster for Darklords because we can bring him out really easily, and we have a lot of monsters that do a lot of damage. I mean, most of your main deck Darklords are 2000 attack or higher, so I mean, you can easily punch through their boards with Boral Sword. It's going to be quite nice. Got the 1 Dweller because you have got quite a lot of level 4 monsters, so if you really want to make Dweller, you can probably force him out in this deck. I wouldn't think it's that hard. The 1 Dingy for outing whatever threats are on the field. Then we've got 1 Muddragger, 1 Dragon Stepelia, 1 Starving Venom, and 2 Lucifer. These 3 are obviously your standard Super Poly targets, just for getting rid of pretty much any deck in the format. There's very few decks that won't be vulnerable to 1 of these cards. And then we've got the 2 Lucifer because he's our fusion monster. He's our secondary boss monster of the deck after Morning Star. Then moving into the extra deck. So the extra deck is really just geared around cheesing people, really. You just need to use whatever's busted. So we're starting off with your little Dragoon package. We've got 1 Red Eyes Fusion, 1 Dragoon of Red Eyes, 1 Dark Magician, 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon. Now, if you can't afford Dragoon, in real life I can't afford Dragoon either, by the way, so don't worry about it. You can swap this with things like Evening Match, Dark Ruler, whatever, Ash Blossoms even. It really does not matter what you're putting in. You don't necessarily have to gear to going first, but it is quite a nice package to have. So if you have got the money to do it, I definitely would recommend splashing on it, just so you do have a pretty strong package for going first. You can put 2 materials on board in this deck very easily, make your Dragoon, and now your opponent just needs to somehow spend their first turn outing your Dragoon instead of establishing their plays. We've got 3 Nibirian, 3 Phantasmades, really good side deck cards in this format, but you don't want to main deck them because there are some decks that are completely useless against, there are some decks that will win you the game against, so that's why they're quite kind of crucial to keeping your side deck. But 1 Pancratops, I love Pancratops, he's so versatile. I really wish he was at 3, but obviously Konami doesn't want cheap extra decks, but Pancratops is a really good card. I do recommend having him in your side. There's very few games where I don't want to side in Pancratops, just because I know whether I'm against a front row deck or a back row deck, as long as they summon at least 1 monster, Pancratops will be relevant. Then moving on, 3 Lightning Storm. This can be swapped for Evening Match, this can be swapped for Dark Hole, this can be swapped for Raigeki. There's so many cards you can swap this for. You can swap this for Kaijus as well, but again, this is the most effective card to do. So it is the most expensive, but it's the most expensive for the reason because it's the best card. Same as Harpy's Feather Duster for dealing with back row, for dealing Lightning Storm also deals with monsters as well, which is going to be nice. But guys, that is the build. This is really efficient build. I'm definitely going to have more replays coming up because I've been having so much fun. Darklords being my favorite deck. I love formats where I can really go to town with the Darklords. But guys, if you've enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment and subscribe for more content, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace.